Welcome to Zen Serenity. In the fast-paced current of modern life, where our minds are constantly swept up in worries, endless thoughts, and relentless pressure, finding a true moment of peace can feel like a distant luxury. But tonight, or whenever you choose to listen, we will gently lift the veil of busyness to uncover an ancient treasure, the wisdom of Zen stories. These stories carry a profound power to instantly calm your mind and guide you into a deep state of tranquility. There's no need to try, no need to understand. Just allow this voice and these stories to flow gently through you like a cool stream, refreshing your spirit. Each story is a seed of peace, a ray of wisdom, illuminating the quiet corners of your heart, helping you release the burdens and return to your natural stillness. Find a comfortable place. It could be your bed, your sofa, or anywhere you feel safe and supported. Gently close your eyes or soften your gaze. Feel the support of your body against the surface beneath you. Take a deep breath, slowly filling your chest and belly. Then exhale gently, feeling any tension slowly melt away. Let your breath be your anchor in this moment. Each inhale carries peace. Each exhale releases worry. Feel the gentle, natural rhythm of your breath. Know that deep within you, there is always a space of stillness, untouched by the noise of the outside world. And from that space, the wisdom of Zen will begin to unfold through these stories. Story 1. The Origin of Fear. In a quiet village nestled along the mountain slope, there lived an old farmer who led a simple and peaceful life. Each day he had to fetch water from the river for his family and to water his crops. But the path to the river was not easy. To reach it, he had to cross an old, decaying wooden bridge that spanned a rushing stream, its waters foaming over jagged rocks below. The bridge creaked with every step, swaying under his weight, groaning with sounds that stirred unease. Every time he crossed, his heart pounded in his chest. His hands trembled. His breath shortened. He had to whisper prayers and take deep breaths, just to steady himself. The fear of that bridge haunted him, not just during the day, but in his sleep. Each night, he lay restless in bed, dreading the next morning's trip, imagining the bridge collapsing beneath him, and his body falling into the cold, wild river. One day, a wise and compassionate Zen master passed through the village. Hearing of the master's presence, the old farmer decided to seek his guidance. With a trembling voice, he confessed, "Master, I live in fear every single day. That bridge, I have to cross it to get water. Each step feels like a dance with death. I cannot sleep, and my heart is never at peace. Please, teach me how to overcome this fear." The Zen master listened in silence, his gaze calm, his presence steady. When the farmer finished, the master smiled gently and asked, "Tell me, old man, is that bridge truly the only way to reach the river?" The farmer nodded, then hesitated. "There's another path a few miles away. It leads to a quieter bend in the river. The water is just as good, but it takes much longer to get there." The master nodded, his voice slow but clear. "Then why not take that path? You will no longer need to cross the bridge that causes you so much fear." The farmer froze, as if the idea had never occurred to him before. "But it would take an extra hour each day," he objected. The master smiled kindly, his eyes warm. "You lose a few minutes each day, but your fear is stealing your sleep, your peace, and your life. Which cost is greater?" The farmer fell silent. The master's words cut through the fog of his thoughts. Like morning light. The next morning, the farmer took the longer path. Though it took more time, his heart was lighter. There was no creaking bridge, no trembling hands, no dread. That night, for the first time in years, he slept soundly, undisturbed by nightmares. This simple story offers a deep Zen lesson about fear and how we respond to it. The fear the farmer felt did not just come from the rickety bridge, but from his refusal to change. He knew there was another path, but clung to his routine, even when it made him suffer. Often in life, we too walk across old bridges, situations, habits, or relationships that cause us fear or stress, and yet we hesitate to take the longer path, even when it offers peace, because it feels inconvenient or unfamiliar. A person might stay in a job they dislike, or a relationship that harms them, simply because it's what they know. The master's advice was not a complex teaching, but a simple reminder. You always have a choice. The farmer had the freedom to choose peace over fear. He just didn't realize it until someone pointed it out. And just like that, his life began to change. Freedom comes when we're willing to look at our fear objectively, to ask, is there another way? What am I really afraid of? The master helped the farmer see that the fear was his own creation, fueled by habit and resistance to change. When we dare to ask ourselves, what is this fear truly costing me? We begin to find new options, ones we never saw before. The master said, it may cost you a few minutes, but your fear is taking your entire life. That is a powerful truth. Fear can rob us without joy and clarity, while giving us nothing in return. So ask yourself, what fear are you paying too much for? Is it worth your peace, your sleep, your freedom? Sometimes, just a small shift in thinking, or a small change in behavior, can free us from a fear we've carried for years. Just as the farmer chose the longer path and found serenity, so too can we. Story 2. The Two Monks and the Woman. One misty morning, under a sky heavy with gray clouds, two monks, one old, one young, walked along a narrow path leading to the neighboring village. Their robes were damp from the drizzle, their straw sandals soaked with rain. The birds were silent, and the only sounds were the soft tapping of raindrops and the steady rhythm of footsteps on the wet earth. When they reached the edge of a river, they stopped. What was once a gentle stream had become a fast, swollen current, fed by the storm the night before. Standing by the riverbank was a young woman in a silk dress, clinging to her shawl, eyes filled with worry. She wished to cross, but the wooden bridge had been swept away, its broken remains drifting aimlessly downstream. The young monk stood still, his face stern. He glanced at the woman, then turned away, gripping his walking stick tightly, his lips pressed in silence, as if to guard himself from breaking any vow. But the elder monk, with silver hair and eyes full of compassion, stepped forward without hesitation. He bowed slightly and said gently, "Miss, allow me to help you." Before the young monk could react, the elder bent down, lifted the woman onto his back, and stepped into the cold water. With careful, steady steps, he crossed the river and set her down safely on the other side. The woman bowed deeply, her voice trembling with gratitude, then hurried away into the mist. The two monks continued walking in silence. The path had turned muddy, but the silence between them was heavier than the soil beneath their feet. The young monk walked tensely, his brows furrowed, his hand clenched tightly around his staff. Thoughts churned in his mind, Our vow forbids contact with women. How could he break it so easily? Doesn't he fear violating our code? The longer they walked, the more his inner storm grew. After more than an hour, when rays of sunlight began breaking through the clouds, the young monk could no longer contain himself. He stopped abruptly and burst out, "Master, we are monks. We are not allowed to touch women. How could you carry her? That was a violation." The elder monk paused, turned to his companion, and smiled. His eyes were calm, reflecting the sky like still water. With a voice soft but clear, he said, "Young brother, I put her down an hour ago. Are you still carrying her?" The words rang like a bell. The young monk stood frozen. He lowered his gaze, unable to speak, as the elder turned and continued walking, his steps light and unburdened, as if nothing had happened. This story offers a profound Zen teaching on the power of letting go and the burden of attachment. The young monk clung to the idea of right and wrong so tightly that it clouded his peace. Though the event had passed, he kept replaying it, carrying the weight of judgment in his mind. The elder, however, acted with compassion. He helped the woman, not out of rebellion, but from kindness. And once the act was done, he let it go, both physically and mentally. In life, we often carry similar burdens. A harsh word from the past, a mistake we regret, a disappointment we haven't released. These things no longer exist, but we let them live on in our thoughts. We carry them as if they still have power over us. The elder monk reminds us that compassion sometimes means rising above rigid rules. Precepts are meant to guide, not to chain the heart. He didn't act out of carelessness, but out of clarity and kindness. Helping someone in need was the most mindful action in that moment. His words, "I put her down an hour ago," are a powerful reminder to live in the present. The past is done. Holding on to it only creates suffering. This story highlights the importance of mindfulness, to notice our thoughts and feelings without being controlled by them. The young monk let judgment consume him. The elder acted, understood, and released, to notice and then let go. This is the path to inner peace. Story 3. The Raft. Under the fiery glow of sunset, a man stood at the edge of a vast, rushing river. Before him, the water churned and roared, carrying broken branches and foaming white waves. There was no bridge, no boat in sight. On the far side of the river lay the land he longed to reach, a place of peace, a place where he could continue his journey. But this river, with its fierce current and hidden whirlpools, was terrifying. He knew that if he didn't act, he would remain stuck on this shore forever, never reaching his destination. The man began to work. He wandered along the riverbank, gathering dry logs, strong branches, and thick bundles of leaves. His body grew tired. Sweat soaked his clothes. But in his eyes, there was only determination. Under the pale moonlight, he carefully tied the logs together, using vines from the forest, fashioning a simple raft, rough but sturdy. At dawn, he pushed the raft into the water. His heart pounded, with fear, with hope. He gripped his pole tightly and began to push forward. Through the violent waves, water splashed. The raft shook and swayed, but he didn't give up. And finally, after a long and exhausting battle, he set foot on the far shore. He dropped to his knees. He breathed deeply, feeling the solid, dry ground beneath him. Joy swelled in his chest. He had made it. Then he looked back at the raft, the creation he had poured his energy and care into. This raft saved me, he thought. It carried me across that dangerous river. How can I possibly leave it behind? Gratitude mixed with attachment. And so, he chose not to leave the raft. He hoisted it onto his shoulders, despite its weight, despite its bulk. From that moment on, he continued his journey, but each step was heavier. His shoulders ached. His back bent under the load. The raft, once his salvation, had become a burden that slowed his every move. The Buddha, when telling this story, asked his disciples, "Was this man wise?" They all shook their heads. The Buddha smiled and said, "My teachings are like the raft. They are meant to help you cross the river of suffering, to reach the shore of enlightenment. But once you have crossed, you should not carry the raft on your back. Let it go and walk freely." The raft in this story symbolizes the tools, teachings, and methods we use to navigate the challenges of life. Meditation, religion, philosophy, psychological techniques. These tools are precious. They help us through difficult times, but they are not the destination. The man mistook the raft as something to hold on to forever, instead of seeing it as a temporary means to an end. In the same way, we may cling to spiritual practices or habits, forgetting that they are just vehicles, leading us toward peace, not peace itself. True freedom comes when we know when to hold on and when to let go. Story 4. The Full Cup. In a small temple, hidden deep within a lush bamboo forest, sunlight danced through the leaves, casting shimmering patches of light across the courtyard. A renowned scholar arrived, confident in posture, his voice clear and commanding. He wore fine silk robes, and in his hand was a scroll filled with sharp, well-formed arguments. He had traveled far, debated with philosophers, read hundreds of books, and took pride in his vast knowledge. That day, he came to meet an old Zen master, a man revered for his wisdom and deep inner peace. The scholar hoped to finally learn about Zen, concept he had heard of, but never truly understood. Sitting across from the master, in a humble room, the soft scent of incense in the air, the scholar began to speak. He talked about the philosophies he had studied, Eastern and Western, from ancient scriptures to modern texts. His voice flowed like a river, passionate, unceasing. He analyzed, he compared, he asked questions, but waited for no answers. The Zen master sat silently, his gentle eyes watching, a soft smile resting on his lips, as if he saw something deeper beneath the scholar's words. Finally, as the light began to fade, the master raised his hand and softly said, "Let us pause. We shall have some tea." He stood up slowly and began to prepare a pot. The warm aroma filled the quiet room. Though the scholar still had much to say, he nodded in agreement. The master placed a white porcelain cup before him and began to pour. A stream of clear green tea flowed into the cup and kept flowing. It reached the brim. It overflowed. Tea spilled onto the table and soaked into the scholar's silk robe. "Master, stop!" the scholar exclaimed, startled and confused. "The cup is full. It can't hold any more." The master gently placed the pot down. He looked into the scholar's eyes and spoke, his voice slow and resonant, like the echo of a temple bell. "You are like this cup. Your mind is already full of ideas, knowledge, and opinions. How can I pour Zen into it if you do not first empty your cup?" The scholar fell silent. The master's words cut through the fog of his pride. For the first time, he realized that his great knowledge, instead of leading him to insight, had become a wall, blocking anything new. The story of the full cup is a deep Zen teaching, a lesson in humility, openness, and the importance of creating space within the mind. The scholar, though brilliant, had allowed his mind to become like a cup filled to the brim with beliefs, assumptions, and rigid ideas. In such a state, he could no longer take in anything new, even the deepest teachings of Zen. We too often fall into the same habit. Our minds become full of how things should be, of judgments about others, or fears about the future. And when the mind is full, there is no space left for curiosity, for understanding, or for peace. The Master's invitation to empty your cup does not mean to abandon all knowledge. It means to let go of clinging to it as if it were the only truth. When we empty the mind, we create space for wonder, for realization, for stillness. An empty mind is not a blank mind, but a ready one, free from attachments, open to what is, and alive with presence. This story reminds us to approach life with the heart of a beginner, to set aside what we think we know, to listen without judgment, and to observe without grasping. In doing so, we don't just learn more, we come home to a quiet joy that was always there. Story 5. The Wild Horse and the Slave. Under the scorching midday sun, on a vast field scorched with golden grass, the thin, ragged man was struggling with a wild horse. The horse, its coat gleaming black, its eyes blazing with fire, neighed loudly, rearing and galloping across the field, kicked wildly, and each time the man tried to climb onto its back, he was thrown to the ground, dust rising in thick clouds. Drenched in sweat, his face flushed with anger, the man shouted in frustration. He gripped the reins tightly, pulling hard, but the horse only grew fiercer, as if mocking his efforts. Not far away, an old Zen master, wearing a faded saffron robe, walked slowly across the field. He stopped beneath an ancient tree, leaned gently on his bamboo staff, and quietly observed the chaotic scene before him. The sound of hooves pounding the earth, the man's shouting, and the wind rustling the grass, blended into a tense, uneasy symphony. After a while, when the man was thrown off again, rolling across the grass, the Zen master calmly approached. His eyes were kind. A soft smile played on his lips, as if he saw something deeper than the struggle before him. "What are you doing?" the master asked, his voice gentle, yet clear, cutting through the noise around them. Penning, wiping sweat from his brow, the man growled, "I'm trying to tame this wild horse. My master ordered me to ride it to the market before sunset, but it won't obey. It keeps throwing me off, again and again." The master nodded, his gaze still calm. He stepped closer, looked deeply into the man's angry eyes, and said, "But you are not its master. You are a slave, just as the horse is a slave to its wild instincts. How can one slave tame another?" The man stood stunned. His hands, once gripping the reins tightly, began to loosen. He looked at the master, confused, not understanding. The master continued, his voice slow and steady, each word ringing with quiet clarity. "You cannot control the horse outside if you have not first tamed the horse within, your wild mind, your anger, your attachment to control. Master your own mind first. When your heart is calm, the horse outside will feel it too." The man stood still, his breath slowed. The master's words were like a cool breeze, soothing the fire inside him. Without another word, the master turned and walked away, leaving the man and the horse, now standing quietly, as if it too had sensed the stillness in the air. The story of the wild horse and the slave is a powerful metaphor about control, freedom, and inner peace. The wild horse is not just a creature on the field, it represents our own mind, racing thoughts, intense emotions, and endless desires. Just like the man struggling to control the horse, we often try to control the outside world, our relationships, our circumstances. But the more we try to force control, the more frustrated we become. For the wild mind cannot be subdued by strength or will alone. The man is a slave, not just to his social role, but to his own anger, his frustration, and his need for control. And so are we, when we become trapped by our negative emotions, judgments, and the belief that things must go a certain way. The Zen master teaches, to change the outer world, we must first liberate the mind. Taming the mind does not mean suppressing it, but learning to observe it gently, without judgment. When we watch our thoughts and feelings, without trying to fix or fight them, a deep stillness begins to arise. This inner peace does not just transform us, it radiates outward, shifting how we respond to everything around us. The wild horse that truly needs taming is not out there, it's within. When we try to control everything outside, while ignoring the chaos within, we only exhaust ourselves. But when we learn to sit, to observe, to soften, we find not only peace, but the strength to move through life with calm and clarity. Ask yourself, what is the wild horse within you? And are you ready to let go of the reins, to reclaim your inner freedom? Story 6. The Autumn Leaf. In a vast forest in autumn, the air was cool and crisp, filled with the earthy scent of fallen leaves and changing skies. The trees blazed with colors, golden yellows, fiery reds, like flames dancing beneath a deep blue sky. An old Zen master, robes faded with time, walked slowly along a narrow trail blanketed with leaves. Beside him was a young disciple, his clear eyes shadowed with a quiet sadness. They walked in silence, their footsteps rustling gently through the fallen leaves, mingling with the soft whispers of the wind. Suddenly, the disciple stopped. A golden leaf, glistening in the sunlight, was spiraling down from above, twisting, twirling, floating gently, until it landed among its fallen kin. The young man sighed, his voice tinged with melancholy. Master, these leaves were once so beautiful, clinging high on the branches, alive with color. Now they fall and vanish. It feels like the life is so fragile. The Zen master smiled gently, his eyes bright, as if reflecting the very season around them. He bent down, picked up the golden leaf, and held it carefully in his hand. His fingers traced the delicate veins, admiring the brilliant shift from gold to crimson. Sadness, my child? His voice as soft as the breeze. Do you not see? This is not death. This is letting go. This leaf has completed its purpose. It has bathed in sunlight, nourished the tree, offered shade, and now it gently releases its hold, making space for new life to come. It returns to the earth, to nurture all things. This is the beauty of impermanence. Only by letting go can it truly be free. The disciple stood in silence, his eyes slowly beginning to brighten. The master's words, like a soft wind, dispelled the fog of sorrow within him. He looked again at the leaf in his teacher's hand, then up to the canopy, where more leaves were dancing gently to the ground. And for the first time, he felt a quiet peace. In the presence of change, the story of the autumn leaf is a profound Zen teaching on impermanence, a core truth in Buddhism, that all things change and nothing lasts forever. The falling leaf symbolizes this truth. Everything passes through stages: birth, existence, transformation, and dissolution. We often resist this truth. We cling to moments of joy, to relationships, to achievements, hoping they will last forever. But it is this very clinging that causes our suffering, just like the disciples' sorrow. Upon seeing the leaf fall, the Master reminds us, letting go is not a loss. It is a release. The leaf has not died. It has fulfilled its role, and now returns to nourish new life. In the same way, when we release our grip on the past, our fears of the future, or the emotions that weigh us down, we make space for peace and renewal. This act of letting go is freedom. Instead of seeing impermanence as something tragic, the Master invites us to see it as something natural, even beautiful. When we understand that all things change, we begin to cherish the present moment. The sunny day, a breath of stillness. This gentle awareness frees the mind from regret and anxiety, bringing clarity and ease. The autumn leaf is a quiet invitation to accept and embrace the impermanence of life. Like the golden leaf drifting downward, each moment, each experience has its time. And when we learn to release our attachments and move with life's rhythm, our hearts grow lighter, more open, and deeply at peace. Ask yourself, what are the leaves in your mind that you are still holding on to? And are you ready to let them fall so your soul may rest and be open to something new? Story 7. The Goose in the Bottle. In a small monastery nestled on the hillside, where the wind carried the scent of grass and trees, and the temple bells echoed gently, an old Zen master sat beneath a Bodhi tree. Across from him was a young disciple, eyes bright, yet filled with tension, eager to receive a new teaching. Afternoon sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting shimmering patches of light on the ground, creating a space both still and alive. The Zen master, his voice deep and calm like a flowing stream, posed a question that startled the disciple. Imagine someone raised a baby goose inside a glass bottle. As the goose grows, it becomes too large to pass through the narrow neck of the bottle. Now tell me, how can you get the goose out without breaking the bottle and without harming the goose? The disciple furrowed his brow. His mind raced. He imagined the white-feathered goose trapped inside a clear glass bottle. The neck was too narrow. Escape seemed impossible. He whispered to himself, trying to find a solution. Maybe tie a string to its leg and gently pull it out. But no, that would hurt the goose. Starve it until it shrinks? Cruel and harmful. Fill the bottle with water so the goose floats up. Still no, the neck is too tight. Night after night, he tossed and turned, his thoughts in chaos. He drew sketches, invented dozens of ideas, from slippery oil to strange tools that might open the bottle without calling it broken. But every solution failed. The two conditions stood firm. Don't break the bottle. Don't harm the goose. Exhausted and defeated, he returned to the Zen master. His head bowed low, voice trembling. Master, I've tried everything I can imagine. I can't find a way. Please, teach me. The Zen master smiled, his eyes lit with quiet warmth. He nodded gently, then spoke a single sentence, a phrase that echoed like a bell. The goose is already out of the bottle. The disciple froze, as if waking from a dream. He stared in confusion, trying to grasp the meaning. The master continued, his voice soft but deep. The goose was never truly trapped. It was only caged. Within your mind. Within the limits. You chose to believe. The moment you let go of the idea that the goose was trapped, it was free. Those words cut through the fog of logic and assumption. A wave of relief washed over the disciple, as if he too had just stepped out of an invisible bottle. The goose in the bottle is a famous Zen koan, a riddle not meant to be solved with logic, but to awaken insight. It challenges the mind and opens the door to a deeper way of seeing. The goose and the bottle are not physical. They are symbols. We often trap ourselves in glass bottles of our own making, limiting beliefs, unrealistic expectations, fears, rules we invent and cling to. We suffer trying to solve problems that only exist in the way we perceive them. The disciple used logic. He tried method after method. But Zen is not about solving puzzles. It invites us to change the way we see. The goose is already out. Is not an answer. It is an awakening. It reminds us a problem exists only because we believe it does. When we release those mental boundaries, the problem dissolves and freedom appears. Zen teaches us to see reality directly, without filters, without assumptions. When we look at a problem with clear awareness, not through the lens of fear or bias, we often find it was never really a problem at all. Zeus was never truly stuck. And often, neither are we. Our stress, our anxiety, pressure are not always caused by real barriers, but by the thoughts we carry. Ask yourself, what is the goose in the bottle? In your own life? And can you see it? Perhaps it was never trapped at all? The 7 Zen stories we've just explored are not merely tales. They're keys that open doors to deep inner stillness. They are like gentle breezes blowing through the forest of the mind, sweeping away clouds of worry, fear, and attachment. Each story is a living lesson, wrapped in simple images, yet carrying profound wisdom, guiding you back to your natural state of calm and clarity. The source of fear teaches you that fear does not come from circumstances, but from your resistance to change. The farmer did not overcome the rotting bridge by fixing it, but by choosing a new path. The 2 monks and the woman reminds you that burdens of the past, like clinging to mistakes or judgment, only weigh down your mind. The elder monk put the woman down at the riverbank. What about you? What can you put down that is still weighing on your heart? The raft shows that even the most precious tools must be released when their role is complete. The teachings are the means, not the destination. True freedom comes when you no longer carry their weight. The full cup invites you to empty your mind, to approach life with humility and openness, ready to receive new things and natural peace. The wild horse and the slave teach that the real wild horse to tame is your own mind, the chaotic thoughts and emotions within. When you master your inner world, the outer world becomes easier to walk through. The autumn leaf celebrates the beauty of impermanence. It encourages you to accept life's flow and let go of attachments in order to find freedom. The goose in the bottle challenges you to see through the limits your own mind has created. It shows you that problems which seem unsolvable often exist only as illusions in thought. These 7 Zen stories are not just lessons for when you're awake. They are seeds planted in your subconscious blossoming. Even as you fall asleep, let this ancient wisdom soak gently into your soul, like droplets of water, refreshing dry earth. As you lie down, feel the bed cradling your body. Your breath is the rhythm of life, softly guiding you into deep rest. Each inhale brings peace, like a gentle autumn breeze. Each exhale releases all burdens, like a golden leaf falling from a branch. You don't need to hold on to any thoughts. No need to analyze or worry. Everything has served its purpose. Your body becomes heavier, sinking deeper into complete relaxation. Your mind, like an empty cup, is ready to receive boundless peace. You are safe. You are protected. Sleep opens its arms and welcomes you into a space of restoration and renewal. When you wake, you will feel refreshed, energized, and deeply serene. These Zen stories will continue walking beside you as gentle friends, guiding you through each day with lightness and clarity.